Welcome to The Explainer. So, you're probably looking at Bitcoin's price lately and thinking, what is going on here? Why is it just stuck? Well, today we're going to dig into the powerful economic forces that are keeping it locked in place.
And that's really the big question we're tackling today. I mean, on one hand, you've got all these signals that should be great for riskier investments, like Bitcoin, right? But on the other hand, the price just isn't budging. It's completely stuck in this holding pattern. And yeah, this price tag right here, this pretty much tells the whole story. For a while now, the price has just been bouncing around in this range. Sure, it's consolidating, which means it's finding a stable floor, but there are absolutely no signs of a major breakout.
And this is where it gets really confusing, right? Everyone is expecting central banks to start cutting interest rates to make money easier. Normally, you'd expect that to be like rocket fuel for assets like Bitcoin. So, what gives? What's holding it back?
Okay, so to figure this out, we've got to start with the big picture. Let's unpack the macro clues, because that's where the real story is hiding. So there's this key idea you have to get your head around. It's called monetary policy transmission. And look, it's not as complicated as it sounds. It's not just about a central bank saying they're going to do something. What really matters is whether that policy actually trickles down and makes it into the real economy. And a perfect way to think about this is like a clogged pipe. The central bank, they're turning the faucet on full blast, right? They're trying to pump all this easy money into the system. But somewhere down the line, the pipes are just clogged, and the money isn't getting through to where it needs to go.
And this right here, it just perfectly captures that disconnect we're talking about. You've got the plan, what policymakers want to happen with all that easy money. And then you've got the reality, where the effect is just being blocked.
And we're seeing the signs of this clog everywhere you look. Credit growth, not really picking up. Companies, they're super cautious about hiring right now. Small business confidence, it's in the basement. And the big money, it's all flowing into safe, defensive stuff, not the exciting, risky assets. So that easy money just isn't working its magic. Not yet, anyway.
Okay, so that's the data, but don't just take my word for it. Let's bring in some experts and see what the pros are saying about this whole situation.
First up, analyst Anton Sharatonov, and man, he just hits the nail on the head here. He's basically saying that the promise of easier money is creating a floor, right? It's keeping prices stable. But because that money isn't actually moving through the economy, that weak transmission we talked about, there's just no gas in the tank for a big push higher. Then you've got Viktoras Karapatiats, who adds another layer to this. He's pointing over at the bond and currency markets and saying, look, the signals are all over the place. And because of that, big investors are just playing defense. They're way more worried about protecting what they have than they are about chasing big gains. And finally, Jaina Mehta kind of ties it all together. He's saying, look, until we see actual improvement in the real world, banks lending more, companies hiring more, this big cloud of economic caution is going to act like a ceiling on Bitcoin's price. Okay, so we've got our story. The wider economy is basically holding Bitcoin back. But what does that actually look like on a price chart? And wow, the chart really confirms the whole story, doesn't it? You can see Bitcoin is just trapped in this really tight channel. These lines here are trend indicators, and they show a clear floor, a support level, around 89,100. And then there's a ceiling, a resistance level, just over 90,000. It's like the battle lines are drawn, and neither the buyers nor the sellers can get the upper hand. Now, let's look at one more number. This is the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. It's a key momentum indicator, and it is sitting right around 54.
So, what does a 54 even mean? Well, it's about as neutral as you can get. See, with the RSI, anything above 70 is usually considered overbought, and anything below 30 is oversold. So 54, that's smack dab in the middle. It tells us the market is perfectly balanced, like it's holding its breath, just waiting for a clear signal one way or the other before it makes a big move.
All right. We've dug through the macro clues, we've heard from the experts, and we've looked at the hard evidence on the chart. So what's the final verdict here? What's the bottom line on Bitcoin's holding pattern? And here it is. The verdict is Bitcoin is caught in a macro headlock. Simple as that. The big economic picture is just way more powerful than any crypto-specific news right now. You've got this promise of easy money, but it's getting completely canceled out by the reality of a cautious, defensive market that's just waiting for the economy to actually get better. And that leaves us with one last big question.
It seems like Bitcoin's fate is completely tied to the health of the wider economy. So, to know where Bitcoin's going, you've got to watch those macro clues. But here's the thought I want to leave you with. Is that breakout going to be triggered by a shift in the economy, or could a catalyst come from somewhere inside the crypto world itself? That's the story we'll all be watching.